All right, so today we're jumping into the metaverse once again. Of course, it's a little different track this time. We're going to talk to HTC and really get into some of the equipment, the AR, VR aspect of how maybe the metaverse may become reality and in your home every day. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Metaverse Insider. Today joining me is Pearly Chen, who is the Vice President at HTC. You've probably heard about her with the invention or creation of the Viverse, which I want to learn a lot about, Pearly. So thanks so much for stopping in today.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Good to see you.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so HTC making some big moves in the metaverse. Tell us a little bit about, first of all, what your role is there at HTC. You seem to be the connected one around this whole effort. I want to learn a little bit about how you guys are creating, one, a strategy, and then maybe the product flow, partnerships, all that kind of stuff. But can you give us kind of a little bit of a 101 on this?
Sure. So my background. So I've been working at HTC alongside Sher Wang, the founder chairwoman of HTC, for the past 10 years now. I've held various strategic leadership roles inside the company, starting from before this foray into virtual augmented reality. Most recently, I spend most of my time on investing in founders. So I started investing for HTC starting 2015 when we first announced the original Vive. We wanted to make sure that we play a supporting role to enable the entire ecosystem. And what that means is not only innovating in the best of class hardware, but also building content services and investing in founders and creators that are building profound applications and experiences on the forefront. And so that program we started back in 2016. Now we've invested in more than 100 companies globally, very broad and deep portfolio. That's the favorite part of my job, really, is the supporting, investing in founders, working with them to accelerate growth, helping them where we can. So yeah, that's a little bit of context on my part.
So this is something that we're finding more and more with large companies and innovative movers in the space from the tech side especially, and that is kind of this roller coaster ride into Web3 with like what you're talking about, new innovations from both founder side of things, people really kind of testing the limits of what they can do in different applications, things of that nature. When you guys are out there looking for innovation, especially in Web3, I kind of grew up in Silicon Valley. I know what kind of Web2 and even Web1 was like in the early days of the internet.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's a different set of rules for Web3. One, obviously, we're dealing with now monetary scenarios versus stock price and those kind of scenarios, and then the evolution of what the internet kind of resulted in. But what are you guys seeing in terms of how growth in Web3 would affect the future of HTC? Is there any particular category that you're looking into?
Absolutely. So I think it would be helpful to zoom out and look at what HTC is all about in building this future, immersive future. We call, since beginning of shipping the Vive, the future Vive reality, which is the convergence of all the cutting edge technology with our best of humanity to unleash human imagination. Ultimately, why we wake up every morning to go to work is how to think about how we can play a role in shaping this technology to play a part in enhancing society and improving people's lives. And so that technology piece, we have always envisioned that to be VR, AR as the immersive interface. There will be
Right.
contextual AI to help us work and create and play better. There will be the next generation high speed connectivity like the 5G, then future 6, 7, 8Gs, and then the blockchain as the underlying infrastructure that will allow us to have full ownership of our identity, our digital assets, for creators to be fairly compensated. So that vision of Vive reality has now evolved into what we now call the Viverse, which is
Yep.
our version of the open, secure metaverse that is built by the people and owned by the people. And that's where we're really focused on building today. And so we invest in founders that are thinking with very bold vision, but also a very kind heart in thinking how ultimately this technology will play a role, not just today, but going into the near future in enhancing our everyday life.
So obviously innovation is happening in the metaverse in a big way right now. We've seen a variety of different projects that are launching within the metaverse. Now we're seeing multiple brands, even now banking, DeFi, the productivity side of the metaverse. How will HTC kind of approach this? Is this going to be more from an entertainment side of things? Are you looking for productivity, looking something, from a DeFi standpoint? Where would you see HTC being mostly involved in what could be another metaverse out there with the Viverse?
I think the HTC's vision for the Viverse is where people can access incredible interconnected virtual worlds, connect with one another. For me, it's really connecting with ourselves as well, having a safe, private space to take care of yourself, to work in a productive environment, and to travel between spaces and experiences where you desire to share that experience with others, or even if it's a solo experience. And so it's all of the above. Entertainment has clearly been an important first target milestone as we've been building, working with game developers globally on great entertainment experiences and storytelling. But very quickly, we have been thinking about what comes beyond gaming, because there's just so much more that it already plays a role. For example, in the past 2 years, where we've been having experienced a lot of physical isolation during the pandemic, virtual worlds like the Vive Sync, like VR Chat, a museum of other realities, and Engage, these companies that we've invested in, along with many, many others out there, really provide an opportunity for us to be together virtually, much more so than we are together now via floating rectangular screens. So we have
Yeah.
been able to have an opportunity to co-create memories together based on their three-dimensional context, their spatial memories, that we're doing something together. And for me, that is just so important. So that applies to not just having more productive team meetings, which I've benefited a lot from, also team building, traveling to spaces together, throwing birthday parties, but also for me personally, it would be having that private space on my own in the mornings and meditating in Iceland, meditating on Triv, or various meditation tools that are more about how we feel with these technologies that we build, not just about how much more productive it can make us be. And speaking about what beyond entertainment, healthcare, right, and healthcare training and patient engagement side of things are also an area that I've been personally looking very closely into. So
Hmm.
because immersive environment really gives patients an easy, accessible, fun, and engaging way to engage with their clinicians, their therapies, and we can improve patient outcome that way. Not to mention the very many profound and life-changing aspects of what surgical training and simulation can mean in three-dimensional space.
So you really see this as kind of the evolution of what could be the future of all interconnected, humans online. And if you think about just the use case scenarios, it's going to be a lot more, because I think a lot of people look at the metaverse right now as a place for gaming, entertainment, maybe a place to do play to earn, play and earn gaming, which is obviously tied into the crypto side of things. But you're looking more also from a functionality standpoint of different industries that really could play into this just from an access point level as well.
I
So go
I
ahead.
agree with that. So I agree with that. I think a lot of people remain skeptical about what this metaverse or VR, AR means, and believe that it will remain a niche like a console game
Hmm.
machine in the living room. But
Right.
for me, how we see it is it's ought to be replacing the smartphone that you spend 10 hours a day engaging with. It will just be your digital personal portal into um, everything you do in the digital world, but just in a more
Yeah.
immersive, contextual, and meaningful way. And so this surely will reach billions of people in the scale that smartphone has over the past 10, 15 years. So there is absolutely a way for all of us to care about the development of the metaverse, or playing a role
Hmm.
in shaping what this technology is used for, and make sure that we deliver the utopian version versus the dystopian future that sci-fi
Right.
authors make us imagine.
Yeah, I think this is going to be something, because when you look just in general, the number of people we talk to that are obviously working in the metaverse from a technology stack side, or also maybe from a hardware side, with the aspect of VR, AR. But then you have all the tool sets, the rails, a lot of the vehicles and things that are happening within the metaverse. If you look at things like what Render Token is doing, then you look at ad shares, how they're going into the market for advertising. You look at, you could just go on down the list in terms of the projects that are trying to really kind of recreate frameworks around what we've seen really over Web 2 for quite a while. Obviously, now we're seeing that transition going into Web 3. I want to get into the hardware side of things quickly, and then also kind of follow up with just connectivity, partnerships, and then additionally, the monetization side of things. So I was looking at some of the products you guys have, obviously the Vive, but then you've got the new product, the Vive Flow, which is
Yes.
interesting to me. Both are all these products available now and usable within the Viverse?
They are absolutely. The intention is that Vive hardware may be the easiest and most immersive way to step into the Viveverse, but we want to make sure that there are multiple gateways into the Viveverse through connected browsers, mobile, laptop, PC devices. So yes, we absolutely will continue to innovate on the VR product side of things, but we also want to make sure it's accessible through different
Yeah,
devices.
yeah. Now, you guys launched last year, I believe it was the HTC, the Exodus One. Obviously, how is that? Is that going to be something that would be tied to this, or how would that be involved in the Viveverse in the future?
So, as I mentioned, since the beginning, we knew that blockchain will be an important pillar technology to support the underlying infrastructure of how we see the Vive reality, or now called the
Hmm.
Viverse, because we want to make sure that this future is built and owned by the people. And so, a lot of this future and these worlds need to be built on decentralized, open standards. And so, Exodus One, I believe it's 2, 3 years now, was the world's first blockchain phone that
Right.
empower people to own their digital assets on their device. And so you will see ViFlow actually recently become the world's first VR headset that supports crypto wallets. So I think what this really means today is how we are thinking about Viverse being fully decentralized, giving the ownership of assets, identity, and experiences and data to the user. That's how our philosophy has always been, and our promise to the users that this does not need to be a scary place where you worry about personal privacy invasion. All of your experiences, data, your assets should be built in an open, transparent way, open source, and people should own it and participate in it, economically speaking.
All right. So, I mean, this sounds very, nirvana in a sense. I mean, you've got a lot happening in a very good way when you
Right.
think about the metaverse. Because we obviously this show, Metaverse Insider, we kind of dig the metaverse. So we're into it in terms of what I think is going to be the evolution of society. We'll just see so much
Right.
more use cases of how all this is going to play into it. And obviously, with societies, any great society, you need money and monetary systems in place. With all of those things in play, of what could become a pretty fast growth period, because I think we're at the very early stage of where growth is occurring in the metaverse. What are some of the next steps for HTC around the monetary side of things? Let's say, for instance, I've got a flow and I start to move into the Viverse. What are some of the things that I can do within it? Let's just stay with the gaming side of things. What kind of play to earn partnerships or play and earn partnerships have you guys been able to secure so far?
I don't have a partnership in that specific realm to share today, but how we design this, since we focus on open standards, is OpenXR, is VRM for humanoid avatar standards, and we support crypto wallets that are focused on proof of stake versus proof of work. And we'll continue to expand that support of different blockchain protocols that will bring tools for creators
Okay.
to make sure that they get properly compensated. And what this means going into the future is also the democratization of creativity and earning from your creativity. So what I would imagine is, with a lot of these intuitive, amazing three-dimensional creativity tools that would lower both the creative and technical barriers of creating 3D assets and 3D
Yep.
worlds, will become a new livelihood. Single mothers
Hmm.
in from across the world can build worlds. In fact, today they already are doing things like this inside VR chat, right? And then with each visit, they get to be compensated for patronage and visits. So people who build the world get to participate economically in the output of their creation. So these are really important concepts to think about. And also, we have a lot of creators in the ecosystem that are already thinking about how tokenization of a society society benefiting behaviors should be rewarded with tokens, right? Whether it is a token to care, to pay a compliment, to build contribute to the community. These aspects also need to be considered. This past week in South by Southwest, for example, we announced together with our partner HoloRide and Audi on making immersive in-car experiences possible without getting anybody car seat. For example, they think about their token, which is called Ride, built on the Elrond chain, in
Right.
not just compensating the creators in fully transparent way, but also enable as a utility token for users to have different economic activities as well, depending on their behaviors and their social experiences on the platform. So a lot of ways that people are thinking about designing these experiences, we want to make sure that they have the tools to do so, but also build on the philosophy of building a nourishing, healing, and peaceful and wonderful metaverse that we all aspire for our children.
Yeah, it's very early right now. We are seeing a lot,
Yes.
and in many cases, we're seeing a lot of metaverses kind of become their own standalone metaverses that eventually might integrate with other metaverses. Obviously, the NFT functionality within and across metaverses and interoperability requirements in the future are going to be super key. And it's much like, people kind of say, well, how does all this work? When I talk to, the layman, or I talk to people who are just getting into it, is, I think of it, hey, listen, if you ever, and most of you have probably visited the World Wide Web through the evolution of Prodigy, AOL, and then eventually it became MySpace, Facebook, all those are in essence the kind of things that are happening within the metaverse themselves. You're getting these isolated areas that could become interoperable. Obviously, the one connecting thought and model between all of these is how non-fungible will eventually be able to potentially cross over and be usable in a lot of different applications. So I think the decentralized aspect of it is really going to make it super, super interesting. And I think also once people truly understand it, this will be a big draw into some of the more, I think, iconic metaverses that will be developed out there for sure. I want to jump back to hardware real quick because obviously hardware is going to be a big factor here. If you look at what Zuckerberg is doing with Meta, obviously they're on a absolute breakneck speed in trying to develop
Yes.
Oculus to be able to handle this kind of evolution. Obviously, HTC moving very fast with the Vive. What are some of the things that you see in the development of those hardware aspects that could be helpful in the future? Because I think a lot of people might be looking at something that's either one, more mobile, maybe, if you, for most people like me, I get a little nausea after a little bit of time in those kinds of environments. What kind of things are you seeing in terms of advancements around that equipment in the future?
I think this is a great segue to cue the Vive Flow, which I have on my desk because I go into it every morning. It's
Okay.
easy on and off, much without messing up with my hair or makeup. I think that
Yep.
concern applies to men as well, not just to women. But I think Vive Flow is a great testament of how form factor is getting smaller, lighter, much more accessible for all demographics, not just for gamers and people who are willing to adopt technology earlier. So Vive Flow is your on-the-go portal into the metaverse, the Viverse, but also, as I mentioned earlier, a private, safe space for you to take care of yourself. And so this, I think, are the two trends that I mentioned earlier as well. One is technology is for us to absolutely enjoy various great experiences, but also for us to connect more deeply with ourselves, having mindful moments, having private productivity moments on the go, wherever you are. So that's one. And also on the form factor side of things, with the advancements of 5G and edge computing, we will soon be able to reduce the on-device processing and offload those to the edge and to the cloud. So form factor is all to become smaller, more comfortable over time. And now we I think prove this concept by more advanced optical design in the Vive Flow that enable this form factor that everyone loves. It wirelessly connect to your mobile phone as a
Hmm.
controller, and with the external power plug, you can go in and out of amazing experiences very, very quickly. Of course, on the high-end side of things, we still have Vive Pro, we have Vive Focus 3 that are PC powered, as well as an all-in-one system that enables businesses and that enables businesses and gamers to get into their world with very high power processing up capabilities to do all the training activities or entertainment activities that they need. So we'll continue to push the envelope on all sides from the top end as well, innovating on the top end, as well as making sure that form factor and accessibility can continue to improve in the consumer side as well.
Yeah. Let's talk about, okay, so that's the good news. The good news is we're going to probably see slimmer designs, new, footprints in
Yes.
terms of being able to, I think people, because, from a functional aspect, if it, in the future, the perfect world, having an AR/VR component that might be like a set of glasses for me, of being able to have on-demand content and be able to jump into a productivity scenario, or if I'm wanting to create something, maybe we want to just shoot, Metaverse Insider inside VR, and I'm doing that,
Totally.
obviously through
Holographically.
these kind of exactly interfaces. Within that, I guess eyewear, does that start to play into the strategy, or would this be something that would essentially modulate the needs of someone's eye situation, where they're, like for me, I'm nearsighted, I can see far, cannot see right up on top of me, but how does that affect people with glasses? Because there's a lot of people that wear them.
All of our devices can fit your existing prescription glasses very comfortably,
Inside,
because we
yeah,
know that it's important to accommodate that. The Vive Flow glasses also has a prescription levels that you can select. This is completely sidebar, but VR glasses are also being used for vision treatment, for vision
right,
fitness. So
yeah,
that's also a great development.
yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Vive Connect, transferring avatars. How's that going to work? What would be some of the processes that we could utilize Vive Connect for?
So Vive Connect will be your on-the-go portal into the Viverse when you don't have a VR glasses or a VR headset with you. So that's the part where we want to make sure accessibility is established. So any devices, whether it's mobile, PC, laptop with the connected browser, you can get into the Viverse in a two-dimensional way. Of course, the VR is still the most immersive way, but oftentimes people don't have immersive interfaces with them. So Vive Connect offers that environment for you to get into with the TV, with the browser.
Cool. All right, so we've had a couple of guests on our show here recently that have really started to explore the idea of entertainment beyond gaming, and getting into things like music, comedy, what we'll see in terms of entertainment and experiences in the future, especially around artists. So I want to talk, because performing artists could be anything. This could be a play, it could be a musician that's doing, a full-on concert. It could be a comedian doing a stand-up show. All these different kind of factors that we potentially could see happening in the metaverse, in a way in which these artists could, one, earn money through exchange from obviously the patrons and people that are consuming that content. How will HTC play a role in that for both artists, but also from the community themselves?
So we built B-Day, which is our holographic live music concert platform, to enable musicians and artists an easy way to host a holographic concert for their fans to engage in a different dimension, and fans can join and fly through and they interact with each other and pick the most favorite seat in the house. And I find this use case extremely interesting because, especially through the past 2 years where a lot of live events have been canceled, a lot of artists and technology companies are thinking about these new ways to engage fans in a way that was not possible before. And this advancement is so interesting. It opens up worlds of possibilities purely based on creativity. Really, sky's the limit. And so we want to
Yeah,
play a part too in ensuring that we offer the tools. Again, Viver is all about creating the tools for creators, for founders to build the worlds in the way that they envision benefit society and foster human connectivity. So B-Day would be that platform that we offer. There are, of course, so many other companies building various live music platforms too. But we want to make sure that we also learn. oftentimes we build different tools for our ecosystem, but also for us to learn what is needed from our first party perspective. So I can't wait for us to release B-Day for the different artists and creators out there to create their live concert. I certainly
So
enjoy the one that I attended last week in South by Southwest.
interesting. So okay, so the I guess the form factor in which these platforms would be coming in, if I'm hearing this correctly, is let's say I'm a developer, someone like an Audius, which is mostly an audio, and they do component for the Web3 applications of maybe kind of like the new Spotify, so to speak. But let's say I want to add something to the metaverse side of things. If Audius were to partner with an HTC, obviously they're bringing their token, they're bringing their whole connectivity of their library and their sponsorship deals, and also their deals with the creators and the artists themselves to the game. Are you looking for partners like that, or would HTC be looking to try to create some sort of function where an average, say, indie artist could jump into the Viverse and engage in a creative experience with HTC?
I would say it's the latter. We want to enable more
Okay.
independent artists and musicians to create worlds and monetize through audience engagement in this way.
And that's where
Of
Beat
course, we've
Day
seen a
comes
lot of
in.
the that's where
Is that
B-Day
where
comes
Beat?
in. We've seen,
Okay. All right.
yes, absolutely. I think we've seen a lot of top line artists engaging with platforms like Wave, right? We've seen Travis Scott like concerts on Fortnite and John Legend and so many others, and it's really a fascinating way for the world to see what music and live concert in the metaverse could look like. But oftentimes these are really expensive artists to engage. I think where we come from, what could be more meaningful contribution is
Mhm.
to create a platform and tools for more independent artists to also step into the metaverse, engage their fan, and build their fan bases and monetize that way.
Yeah, I like it. What anything on the live streaming side? I mean, if you think about just how YouTube works today, I mean, we do a lot of live streams here each week. Obviously, we do pre-recorded stuff like what we're doing today with you. What are the futures of where channels such as ourselves and many other, whether it's news, media, entertainment, influencers, et cetera, any kind of potential of where that might be going in Viverse and or in the metaverse?
I think we're still early on the maturity of the technology side of things to be able to live stream volumetric content, not to
Mhm.
mention live field like content that requires a massive amount of data.
Right.
This kind of setup of content production and streaming is extremely prohibitive. It's expensive. It's hard to achieve. But we are definitely starting to see different solutions, and that's where my investor hat comes in as well. Recently, I invested in a company, for example, that offers precisely that a functionality to live stream voxels. So the holographic image of a person can go into a Unity environment and you can produce live streaming content that way. So I think we're starting to
Gotcha.
see glimpses of what solutions could be available out there before this becomes a massively available tool for creators on YouTube today. But it's definitely coming.
Yeah. Anything in terms of the roadmap that you can share of how you guys are trying to attract in the creators, the DApp developers, things of that nature? What's the team look like? Kind of give me your plan to go to market out there and really kind of bring in people into the metaverse.
I think we are building with the intention that we want to make sure this is an open, benevolent, secure version that can be built by the people and owned by the people. So we're looking for partners who believe in this vision and this mission, who are aligned in terms of value that the metaverse should be this way instead of the more dystopian version that many are fearing. And so I think we are really defining what our vision is. We're refining and building various tools to enable people to join in. And then we're really just reaching out with a kind heart and full vision and reaching our hands out to make sure that the founders, creators, developers with the same vision would join us on this journey.
All right, last question is kind of the direction of the big behemoths that are coming. You look at what you guys are trying to do within the metaverse. You look at projects like Fortnite. You look at Horizon Worlds with Facebook or Meta, and then obviously with Viverse. when you look at all those kind of scenarios, the key today is how do you draw in talent? How do you bring in creators, artists, dApp developers, blockchain developers of all types? What is the big draw? What would make Viverse the place for anyone to come and build on, much like what Android and Apple have been trying to do, and both have struggled with being able to draw in the best developers to build within their phone platforms. How do you see that moving with metaverse platforms like what you guys have created with Viverse?
I think developers and creators they're very clear-eyed, and they make decisions of what platforms to build on and build for, based on their value alignment. Of course, today it involves a lot of on the commercial side of things, right? Which platforms are more dominating, reach more users. People naturally build there. Being a smaller player in the space, we believe that we still have the responsibility to have a point of view, to build tools, platforms for the future that we will all share. And so I think, again, reiterating my answer from your previous question, is always about the intention and the vision. And I think we can feel comfortable and the conviction with the kind of future we want to build, we will naturally attract the ecosystem of partners that want to align with us. And again, I don't think this is a zero-sum game. It's not a winner takes all. I think every one of us, being creators, founders, developers, or users, will want to see a future where it's we don't only have one choice of dominance. We want to have various choices. And again, we are not building a wall garden in Viverse. It is purely our version and interpretation of what an open metaverse should look like, what the philosophies and standards should be like. And so I think we all need to just play our part in instilling our vision and providing the tools that are necessary. Then the rest will work itself out.
Pearly, I'm kind of curious of just in general, just the amount of innovation that's happening there and the kind of applications that could rise in Viverse. I look at things in projects like what VeVe is doing with VeVe Vault. If you're an NFT or you're a collector of digital assets, you have this really cool aspect of how VeVe Vault is done. Do you see a future where something like that could be transplanted into Viverse if I wanted to have VeVe Vault there instead of just over here on my app?
So I am not personally familiar with VeVe Vault, but how we think about your crypto wallet is self-custody. So when I mentioned that the Vive Flow is the first VR glasses to support crypto wallet, it means that you can own your digital asset completely offline on your device, and that could be on your phone as well. So you don't need to go through a centralized server such as ours. It will be fully self-custodian.
Yeah, so I'm just carrying my NFTs or my digital assets with me. And those kind of scenarios, I could see where VeVe would have, until they get to a point where we can start to move those assets out. I think that will be a little bit of a challenge, I think, with any of those kind of scenarios for sure. Pearly Chen, it's been great having you on the show today. Lots of interesting stuff happening with HTC. We definitely want to get you back on as things develop, especially for the Viverse. But thanks again for stopping in.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great day.
Excellent. All right, you guys are tuned in over on the podcast side of things right now. Yes, you can get Metaverse Insider over there on the audio side, but that's great. Number one place, of course, to get all of this great content is right here on YouTube. Just jump over to YouTube, search Paul Barron Network. You'll find us. Subscribe and like a few videos, whether you go to TechPath and learn about blockchain and Web3 and kind of the big top crypto assets that we report on over there. Or if you are interested in really diving into blockchain gaming, Metaverse, and of course NFT evolutions right here on this show on Metaverse Insider. You can always reach me out on Twitter at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.